Hello guys and welcome back to a Sniper's Flights video. Today we are going to be reviewing the recently released White Knight 2, which is part of JamAG's Virgin Atlantic spaceship that he has recently released. This is part of Virgin Atlantic's plan to go to space. And the pod scene in the middle is what is used for the actual flight into space, and the double-bodied aircraft, which is either side, is how it gets up into the air. So, without further ado, let's get this bird in the air. So, this aircraft, the rudder steering is controlled by both wheels on front instead of just one. It's going to have a large rotation speed, but can also be used as a glider because of the size of the wings. The gear goes up nicely, as shown here. First the front one, then the back one. And there we have it. This is a 4-engined aircraft, as shown, with 3 bodies either side. Let me set an autopilot for us to do some cruising around in. So, here in our aircraft, we can see within the aircraft, shown here. This is in the, I believe, this is in the left-hand side cockpit. This is the below. That's free cam. All of the camera angles we usually have. So sorry, I meant Virgin Galactic, not Atlantic. Marketing has got to the better of me. Now, something that's rather special about this aircraft is its ability to deploy the center device here. So, once we get round on the pattern, so we're getting round on the pattern now. Once we straighten off, we can deploy the pod, shown here, by pressing optional animated extras, the letter X. And this should show you how basically it works. I personally think, compared to the real life model, this has turned out very well. The engines are detailed. You can see the fans within them. It's got some nice parts to the livery. The texture isn't that good. You'd want more of a texture for something like this. And in a minute, when you see it deploy, we're going to talk about the fire. But I think it's pretty good. So I think now we should deploy the center part by doing this, pressing X, slowly lowers down, goes ahead, and then comes through here. Now, as you just saw, the fire animation is pretty bad, which I personally think isn't that good for the aircraft, because it could be a lot better. But in fairness, we weren't that close up. So in a minute we'll review just the spaceship. I'm going to turn this back onto base, and we're going to do a time lapse. Okay guys, we're turning back onto finals. We'll get the HUD up. At this point I'm going to say we should disengage autopilot. Something that I've just noticed about the aircraft is that it doesn't have flaps, which I think is rather... It is part of the realism of the aircraft. The aircraft in real life does not have flaps. But the fact that it does not have flaps means that if you are going to be landing this aircraft, you should be landing it at a fast speed. Another thing to bear in mind is because the cockpit cam is through the left hand side angle, you do only see what it would be like to land on the left hand side. So I would advise landing this aircraft in the third person view from the outside now. Time to rate the landing. Okay, rate my landing in the comments down below, guys. I'm going to give that about a 5 out of 10. That was a bounce, it wasn't straight. And talking about keeping a centre line, I would advise using where the spaceship itself sits, the little platform there, as a place to try and maintain centre line and the point. I still find this aircraft manoeuvrable enough, and the physics work very well on it. But this aircraft does have spoilers, if you're interested, because I know there are some people here that find spoilers useful on landing. It does not have reverse thrust, and otherwise I think this is a pretty good aircraft. I think these bits in the middle can hold passengers. Let me see. Let me just have a look. So that's on the wing. Launch bay. Nah. Let me get into free cam and see if we can. No, it doesn't have passengers. Right, that's fine. Let's reset our camera and we're gonna get into the Spaceship 2. Here we are. So this is the spaceship itself. As you can see, extremely fast on the speedometer. This would usually be launched from White Knight 2, the aircraft that we have just flown. But because I can't be bothered to do that, it's not. We're at like 400 knots still on the ground. We're going to be breaking the land speed record here, or I don't even know. It's because it's so hard to take off, it's usually launched from White Knight 2. Because I'm pulling fully back on my joystick right now. We're at 450 knots. And I am not taking off. So I'm going to say to take it off. I think I just accidentally deployed the spoilers. We're going to fly overhead. Here we are. So we're overhead here. Extremely manoeuvrable. I think the physics on this are a bit broken. It's a bit too sensitive. Nobody saw nothing. That never happened. Now, I just want to talk about the fire in here. Oh, what are we doing? I just want to talk about the fact that the fire in here is a bit... I'm going to say the animation isn't the best. I've just stalled it out, haven't I? Because I've oversped it. Right. But this one does have seats inside it, as seen here. The interior isn't that great, you know, though. It's not the best. Virgin Galactic is where people are trying to take people to the moon, but the interior here it's not the best, you know. They could have done more on the interior. But this is, again, as I'm going to say, a community contributed aircraft. So for CC, this is pretty damn good. The other thing is, if we try and land it now, this is going to be interesting for the wrong reasons. The spoilers completely stop any sort of vertical speed whatsoever. And you can also see that when the spoilers deploy, the front side of the fins could collide with the ground. Now, I don't know if it does or not, but that is a potential danger and something that doesn't make this too realistic. Now, I don't even want you guys to rate that landing because I wasn't even half on the runway. But to then deploy spoilers here, you see this bit at the front is colliding with the ground, which doesn't make it too realistic whatsoever. This one does not also have reverse thrust. What I do want to mention though is the flame itself within here, within the engine at the back. You see it's variable, which means you get a shorter flame, longer flame, and then full power. So if I did this from a side-on view here, as I increase throttle, it's variable as shown there, which is great to compare this to a one of Xavier's own planes, like let's take the F-16. The F-16 doesn't do this. You have variable on how much, but only the afterburners turn on when you're at 100. You can't have afterburners on above 90. It just doesn't work. So part of that also makes the that one so good. So overall, I would give the White Knight 2 along with the Spaceship 2 about an 8 out of 10. For a VFR simulator, it's not quite what we would call for or want, but I still think that some parts of it are more superior than stuff like the Spitfire, the F-16 that we have here. And it's because of things like that. You didn't see that, did you? No one saw that. I think that it would get an 8 out of 10 for me. So guys, I'd like to say thank you for watching this video. I will see you in a couple of days for the next one.